one suggestion about putting up a space program, donating $1, and that'd be a way to involve the general public more directly in the space program, as well as other ways to finance NASA.
Well, I have supported things like that for other social or political or economic goals, both at the state and federal level. So philosophically, I'm not opposed to it, but I'll tell you, the amount of money that you'd raise, I think would be a spit in the ocean compared to what the problem is. I don't know whether it'd really be worth it. I think if I were successful in getting that passed, you know, I could come home and maybe get cheered by you, but the final outcome, I don't think would be very productive.
Well, what if we design something like an infant tax bill for space enterprise, some way to give new companies in space enterprise tax breaks that would foster development, commercial development? It's a way to raise funds.
Philosophically, I do not oppose that. I have been supportive of tax incentives in other areas. That one's never come before us, which I've supported. And some of them as recently as this major budget bill that I voted against, the tax exemption of bonds issued by the state of Iowa and other states that want to put it into their beginning farmer program, as an example. That's only a $6 million program, but we still use that principle as a tax incentive to accomplish a certain social good. And so I don't find fault with it. The only thing is, you want to remember that as a practical matter, the value of a tax incentive is less significant the extent to which you have lower marginal tax rates. So when I went to the Senate in 1980, we had 70% marginal tax rates. They were reduced to 50. Then they were reduced to 28%, and then just recently for some incomes raised to 31. Well, no, the marginal tax rate now is 31, I guess. But when the lower your marginal tax rates, the less value those have and the less significance they have as a practical matter, see. So, you know, I favor lower marginal tax rates because that gives the private sector more an opportunity for the allocation of resources in our society than politicians making those determinations. Who else had their hand up? Go ahead, please.
Considering the age and the lifespan of the United States weather satellite system, do you see more money coming to the system next year considering the floods down in Missouri and this being a farm state?
Don't sit down. Please state it again, just the same way you did.
Considering the age and the lifespan of the United States weather satellite system and the floods in Missouri and this being a farm state, do you see more money going next year to upgrade the system?
I see more money going to upgrade the system, but I don't know whether it's going to be that soon. Long term, that's a worthy goal, and I think it is a policy of those administering agencies to pursue that through the budget. Yes, sir.
Do you support multi-year budgets for NASA? Since most of these programs are almost decades-long programs like the Lunar Mars mission.
Yes, I do, but it won't happen as long as, I forget which congressman it is, but who's ever head of the subcommittee is very much opposed to it. Or in fact, maybe I shouldn't blame a congressman. Maybe it's Senator Hollings on our side. Yeah, I think it is Senator Hollings on our side. As long as he's there, it's not going to happen. You know. In fact, let me suggest to you that I have co-sponsored. They haven't really been my initiative, but I think they're real good ideas, so I co-sponsor them. 2-year budgeting for all of the government. That wouldn't necessarily mean 2-year appropriation, but 2-year budgeting, so in the broad outline, agencies that are administering programs that have more of a long-term commitment from the Congress. See? Okay, next. Can I look at my watch here a minute? Oh, I still have some time. Go ahead. Yeah. Yes.
With the release of the Hubble Trouble report, that NASA and the subcontractor were both blamed for the flawed mirror. NASA, because the project leaders failed to communicate with the subcontractor. In your opinion, does NASA have an ineffective management team? And if they do, what needs to be done to correct this?
Well, it could be, but I don't think I'm going to charge that. I think that there's a problem that runs deeper, and it isn't just within NASA. It'd be in a broad base of government. I'm most familiar with it in the Defense Department, but I think it would be typical of any department. There's tremendous peer pressure within government agencies, and I only say it's worse in the Defense Department than other agencies, to go along to get along. In other words, you don't blow the whistle. We have whistleblower protection legislation. We've even enhanced it here within the last 2 years, and I've been a major endeavor of mine. But it doesn't matter how good of protection legislation you're going to have. Down there at levels where things get done in these agencies, they don't really believe that they're going to be protected, and they probably got reason to believe that they won't be protected because resources don't allow everybody to get the attention. You know, not every whistleblower can be a 20-year hero like Ernest Fitzgerald is from the Defense Department. And so, you know, you just don't expose the agency because you're going to be punished for it. Now, it's a sad commentary, isn't it, in government, that you get a badge of dishonor if you try to save the taxpayers' money or expose waste, fraud, mismanagement, bad manufacturing, bad production, and even worse, in the instances in space programs when it puts in jeopardy people's lives, like the O-rings of the Columbia. But that's the situation. We're never really going to improve this situation. And I've been quoted in the paper on this, so I'm just repeating something that I've said once before. We're not going to really change this environment until some president, hopefully it's President Bush, but until some president has a Rose Garden ceremony, and frequently, hopefully, honoring whistleblowers and giving them a badge of honor. Okay. I forget who was next. I'll get you and then you, sir. Go ahead.
Should Congress support the creation of separate agencies for the management of future space programs such as the Mission Planet Earth and the New Mars Initiative? I
don't think so, but I wouldn't pretend to be an authority on whether or not we ought to set up other agencies. But I think sometimes we tend to dilute authority, and when you do that, you dilute responsibility. And it's easy to get buck passing. It's a major problem within government generally, the federal government particularly. I guess the way to answer it for, I'm not against considering it, but I feel that you would have an overwhelming burden. You'd have some burden of convincing me that we ought to go that direction.
Do you see the United States Congress actively funding the space station Freedom enough that it will be operational by the year 2000?
Well, hopefully by the year of 97, because we just slipped 2 years now, you know. But you're probably right in being pessimistic, that even if we're planning on funding it by 97, the way things work out in government, it probably won't happen until the year 2000. But I'm hopeful as a result of that major decision that was made 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, when we decided we were not going to scuttle it. We decided to move ahead. You've got already tremendous investment to protect. There's general agreement of the good its potential of it. You also, the longer you go, the more you build up and I hate to use this term, but the vested interest in it, not only the corporations that are doing the work, but the jobs that are connected with it. You kind of get into a B1 mentality here, where somebody in NASA probably can tell you every congressional district in the United States where there's a bolt made that's put in the spacecraft or whatever holds it together. I've been through a mock-up of them, so that's, you know more about spacecrafts probably than I do. I've gone to actually physically see what they're going to look like, but I don't know much about their operation. But anyway, you know, this gives it political support. You know, I could tell you in some areas of defense where that's been bad, and it's allowed the continuation of a lot of programs that shouldn't be continued. Some of them that even put the lives of American military people more in jeopardy than it does the lives of the enemy. But that may be a political situation that's good for the continuation of the space station, which we hope has all good and no downside to it. But, you know, only time will tell. Next. I don't, I think that I will take more questions, but you don't have to feel like you have to ask questions. Well, in fact, we've only got a couple minutes left. So do you want me to quit right now? Nobody had their hand up. You know, okay. Thank you all very much, and write me a letter.